Alrighty, so did a little more digging today and found a few of the other options that I may have gotten lost in the lost. Okay, start over. The process of going through the videos that I did before. All right, restart. If you're just new to what I'm doing, I do projects pretty regularly where I take a look at existing pop culture and disassemble them to get the basic building blocks that they're made of, and then repurpose those blocks for creating new ideas for new stories. So I was working on that project. I came up with a list of several story ideas and made new ideas inspired by them, under the basic premise that any two artists given the same materials will create different works. And so we created new works for things like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, where I made it a story about 3 ravens instead of 4 turtles, and they're female and they're detectives, not ninjas. So really just kind of playing with the pieces in a new way. So I did a bunch of those, wrote the notes down, and proceeded on with some other projects before my hard drive blew up. And when my hard drive bit it, it took all the files that I made with it. But there are the recordings that I made beforehand. I was purposely avoiding watching them for the distinct purpose of being that second artist given the same building blocks. So I get the chance to explore it and see what new ideas I can come up with the same set of choices. But I don't have a list of the ones I made before. So when I looked at it, I went through my list of the videos I shot and I went, oh yeah, I can see the titles of this one, this one, this one, and this one. I had like 9 with titles on them. And then there were a few of them that were just like creating new ideas inspired by pop culture or movies or TV or stuff like that. I just sort of thought they were continuations of the previous nights. Turns out not really so much the case. So since then we did, okay, what were the ones that we did? We've done them, and now we've redone many of them. So we had Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, Ghostbusters, Terminator, Stargate, Blade Runner, Who Framed Roger Rabbit, Jurassic Park, and Buffy. And last night I discovered that we also did Matilda, and we also did Gremlins. But when we were doing some research on rebuilding a list again last night, I also realized that, hey, you know what? I think we also did Toy Story. Well, yes, we did. Going back through my videos, I managed to find the video we did for that one. And I can't believe I forgot that. I'm trying not to rewatch the videos so that I don't get the same idea that I had last time, but I'm getting some grazing spoilers. So I'm trying to be careful about not getting those. So I played around with it a little bit to see what else I could come up with. And some of the ideas I was playing with. So really, over the next few days, what I need to do is Matilda, Gremlins, and Toy Story. Those are the ones that I have to work on next. Toy Story, I was not sure if I had done it or not, but it looks like, yes, I definitely did do it, and I remember what I did for it now, which is unfortunate because I'm trying to work around that, not to duplicate or be influenced by what I did last time. But it is what it is. So, I'm not sure how much I'm going to be able to do here tonight. Certain individuals have occupied most of the living space. And I'm kind of sore and feel like I have a little bit of an infection going on. But it is what it is. Is what it is. So, looking at the concepts that we have to reimagine, do we have a preference for what we're going to do? Gremlins, Toy Story, or Matilda? See, the temptation I have with this is looking at it from a perspective of, I'm looking at Gremlins predominantly. Toy Story is, I haven't played with a lot, and I have to figure out where I'm going to go with that before I can get there. But Gremlins, my instinct leads me back to a story idea that I started writing the script for years ago and have subsequently kind of left quiet. And that was a story in which it's not a, well, let's lay it out and just put it out as clear as we can. So years ago, I was writing a story where it was mainly themed to be like a anime or a manga, a Japanese comic, where a high school student sees a light in the woods, goes into the woods to investigate, and finds sort of like an alien flying saucer, and is exposed to a bright light. And after that happens, he's found in the woods comatose, and they take his body to the hospital. And meanwhile, new figures have appeared in the city, and one of them is a woman dressed in dark, and one of them is a bubbly light person, and they seem to be in some kind of conflict. And as you proceed on with the story, you end up with the realization that these are aspects, it's basically that boy's inner self expanded and split in two. And he's comatose because his constituent parts have been cast out of him and aren't really clear on the fact that they're not him. They're not separate entities either. And so they have to try to reconcile and figure out how that all works. And it's built on the idea that the light in the woods was a device that's meant to extract the essence and expand the essence that the alien would necessarily eat off of any living creature. So it's basically a soul eater plumps up the meal that it's going to eat by using a device that casts a shadow. And it's a device that has two light sources. So if you use two light sources on a single item, it'll cast two shadows. And each of those shadows that are cast are a different color. And being alien technology, one of those shadows could be a shadow of light, and one can be a dark shadow. They could be fire and cold. They could be different aspects, different components of the individual. And so this one person gets split into two people, and there is a whole story built around reconciling them with him and their environment and what's going on there. The reason I bring that up is the inclination for me right now is to revisit that concept in a slightly different way to make Gremlins. So the idea of Gremlins is you have this entity, this being, this character that when exposed to certain circumstances spawns clones. But those clones have their own personality, and there's a caveat that there's something you can do to make those clones go evil. So Gizmo is a gremlin, but he's a Mogwai gremlin. And when he gets wet, he buds off new gremlins, new Mogwai. Those Mogwai are mischievous and problematic. And they plot to cause a problem so that the other qualifier, that he not be fed after midnight, or else he will turn into the evil reptilian gremlins, happens. And so now you have them on the loose, and they get exposed to water where they spawn more of them. Which I have to admit, one of the other aspects of the Gremlins movie that always kind of bothered me is they're running around in winter. And in the wintertime, there's snow on the ground where they are. Snow is water. Shouldn't they have expanded due to that consequence? I don't know. It just seems like something they should have had. They should have set it in a different time frame, so do it in summer or something like that, so it's not as big an issue. But I feel like I kind of want to pursue that storyline. Of course, he turns that on right now. But I don't know if you can hear that, but it sounds like something's hovering over the house. No, that's the air conditioner in the other room. But so if we take the idea of gremlins, and instead of making it a creature pet, we make it into, could we make it, I kind of want to make it the main character, the person in the story. I can't really twirl my mustache. Sorry. It's harder to make it the main character. Although there was, what is it, the Army of Darkness? Yeah, I think that's a sequel to Evil Dead, right? Where Ash is in the past. Or no, he's in a cabin. Yeah, he's in a windmill in the past. And something happens that spawn miniature versions of himself that are demon elements. I feel like we could do something sort of like that. And there's an element of, if you wanted to go the route of Gremlins, um, getting them splashed with water causes an effect. There's a Japanese animation called Ranma One Half, where the main character is on a training journey across China with his father, and they visit a place with a lot of bamboo poles over different pools of water. And they decide that they're going to have a fight over those pools of water. But they're the cursed Jinsinkyo. I believe that's it, and I'm saying it wrong, I'm sure. Cursed pools. And when the father falls in one pool, he turns into a panda. And to turn back, you douse him with hot water. And every point after that, if he gets doused with cold water, he turns into a panda bear. Now, the son falls into a different pool. It's the pool of the cursed pool of drowned girl. So each pool is a pool that somebody or something has drowned in. And when it drowned in there, whoever falls into that pool after that turns into a duplicate of whatever drowned in that pool. So Ranma's father turns into a panda bear. His rival turns into a little piglet, and he turns into a young girl. And those are 3 of those curses. There are several others. But that's sort of something you can do there. So if you did something could we do something along the lines of, if you fall into the pool of drowned twins, do you become 2 people? Or if you somehow, I don't know. How would we do that? Okay, so it doesn't feel quite right to do it so that somebody is split in half. But I feel like we could do something along the lines of, if we do the sort of Evil Dead version, the Army of Darkness version, where the person ends up with miniature duplicates of themselves. Let's see. How was that achieved in Army of Darkness? Let's see if we can find that out, shall we? Army of Darkness. Army of Darkness is the 1992 American comedy horror film directed by Sam Raimi. Okay, what was the premise? Having been transported to the Middle Ages, Ash Williams is captured by Lord Arthur's men, who suspect him of being an agent of Duke Henry. Yada, yada, yada. Ash is thrown into a pit where he kills a deadite and regains his weapons from Arthur's wise man. After demanding that Henry and his men be set free, as he knew it was a witch hunt. In killing a deadite publicly, Ash is celebrated as a hero. He grows attracted to Sheila, the sister of one of Arthur's fallen knights. According to the wise men, the only way for Ash can return to his time is through the magical Necronomicon Ex Mortis. As he enters a haunted forest, an unseen force pursues Ash into a windmill, and he crashes into a mirror. There you go. That's what we had. He breaks a mirror. Small reflections in each of the shards come to life, with one becoming a life-size clone, after which Ash kills and buries it. Okay. So we could do something like a haunted mirror. So the gremlins could be... That could be really weird. Like a mirror, like mirror on the wall kind of thing. But the entity in the mirror is... Well, let's see. What was Snow White's Snow White mirror? Mirror. Okay, so what's in the mirror of Snow White? What's in the mirror? So everybody remembers mirror. Okay, this is apparently a Mandela effect. The topic of Snow White and mirror keeps resurfacing. It's a good example of our dilemma when we're analyzing Mandela effect memories. This alternate memory relates to Grimm Brothers fairy tale and the later movie and TV show. The key Snow White phrase is usually translated as mirror, or looking glass. Mirror is what most people remember the Queen saying in the Disney movie Snow White and Seven Dwarfs. In fact, IMDb describes the Disney film as by far most memorable full-length animated feature of it. Yeah. Consistent memories include the famous mirror line. However, the Queen in the movie actually says magic mirror on the wall. Yeah. What's in the mirror? I want to think it's a captured like fae or a djinn. What's in the mirror in Snow White? The magic mirror, Snow White Wikipedia. The magic mirror is a mystical object that is featured in the story of Snow White, depicted as either a hand mirror or a wall-mounted mirror. It is used by the evil queen in order to find out who is the fairest of them all. Each time the evil queen asks this question, the mirror states, "My queen, you are the fairest of them all," up until it states that Snow White is in fact more fair. This results in the evil queen hiring a huntsman to kill Snow White. Yeah. The magic mirror is owned by the evil queen and has been depicted in different versions as either a hand mirror or a wall mirror. Every morning the queen asks it, yeah, but when Snow White reaches the age of 7, she becomes as beautiful as the day, and even more beautiful than the queen herself. Okay. After eating the lungs and liver of a wild boar, the huntsman passed off as, ooh, I didn't realize it was that dark. The queen, you are the fairest of them. Fairest here. Wait. The mirror plays a goof on her, but when Snow White reaches the age of 7, she becomes more beautiful than the queen. And then the queen asks her mirror in response, "My queen, you are the fairest here, so true, but Snow White is 1,000 times more beautiful than you." This resulted in the evil queen enlisting the huntsman to kill Snow White and bring her Snow White's lungs and liver. Ew. After eating the lungs and liver of a wild boar that the huntsman passed off as Snow White's lungs and liver, the evil queen asked the magic mirror the question, "Magic mirror in my hand, who is the fairest in the land?" The mirror replies, "My queen, you are the fairest here, so true, but Snow White beyond the mountains, the 7 dwarves, is 1,000 times more beautiful than you." This caused the evil queen to disguise herself as a different woman to kill Snow White. After the latest attempt with the poison apple, which was undone by the prince and Snow White marrying him, the evil queen asked the magic mirror who the fairest in the land was. The magic mirror quoted, "You, my queen, are fair so true, but the young queen is 1,000 times fairer than you." The evil queen learns too late at the wedding that the young queen in question was Snow White, which eventually leads to the queen's death, which varied per version. Okay, so real life influence. The German pharmacist in fairy tale tongue in cheek manner that the German folktale Snow White is influenced by. Yeah, after the death of the queen's iconic mirror, referred to as the talking mirror, can still be viewed today at the Spessart Museum and Lohr Castle, where Maria Sophia was born. The mirror was likely a gift from Philip. I'm not going to read the whole name. It was a product of Lohr mirror manufacturer. The mirror talked predominantly in aphorisms. The upper right corner of the talking mirror contains a clear reference to self-love. Moreover, mirrors from Lohr were so elaborately worked that they were accorded the reputation of always speaking the truth. It became a favorite gift of you. I did not know it was based off a real mirror. Okay, so in Mirror Mirror, elements of the magic mirror are featured as a large mirror that serves as a portal to the mirror house, where Queen Clementiana consults with the Mirror Queen. To access the portal to the mirror house, Queen Clementine quotes "Mirror, mirror on the wall." The Mirror Queen always advises Queen Clementine not to use dark magic for her own gain. Queen Clementine keeps asking her what is the price that she is talking about. The Mirror Queen once provided a love potion to Queen Clementine to make the king fall in love with her, and then briefly turned Brighton into a cockroach. When Snow White destroys the necklace around the beast, which turns it back into the king, Queen Clementine starts to age as the Mirror Queen asks if she is ready to learn the price of magic. After the aged Queen Clementine takes the slice of an apple. Wow, this is a lot of not well written description. So I have read this and I still have less understanding now of what happened than I did before I read it. So, okay, let's just step away from the basic format we have here. So if we took the mirror from Snow White as a premise and combined it with funhouse mirrors, where they show you distorted and twisted versions of yourself, made them cursed mirrors, a hall of cursed mirrors, and a trap set. So there was a online story that somebody wrote as part of a fantasy, where as you passed each mirror in a hallway, they're magically enchanted to show you some alternate version. So you'd pass one and it would be you as an evil character. You'd pass another and it would show you as a dwarf. Pass another and it would show you as an emaciated giant. All these distorted funhouse versions are copies of you, and if you touch one of the mirrors, it will turn you into what was reflected and absorb your actual form. And the two mirrors at the end reflect you as monsters. And if you try to pass by them, they will break free from their frames and attack you. So I kind of like the idea of funhouse mirrors reflecting twisted versions of yourself. And if some of the mirrors are broken, their reflections become small reflections of you, of those twisted versions that you saw. And or maybe not. Maybe what you do is you have funhouse mirrors, and they create the twisted versions of you that can step out of the mirrors. But your thought of defeating them so that they can't harm you is to attack them, and they break. And instead of when they break, they turn into shards of mirror, they instead, each one of the shards is a miniature monster version of you. I kind of dig this idea. I like this one. I think I could go with that. And I don't think it should be like unrealistic reflections of you. I do think they should be somewhat monstrous and distorted. You know, the dumpy lower half with tiny little legs, and this long, stretched out, elongated, grotesque version of the top half with long, gangly limbs. I can see that being something you could do. And I feel like that's viable. What I mean is that you shouldn't have necessarily like a kind and generous, loving hero character, and the reflection is just a hideous, hateful beast. Like, no, it should be you have a flawed human character who doesn't acknowledge their flaws. And in these reflections are all their flaws shown back at them. But they don't think it's them. They think it's an artifact of the mirror. I think I'll have to think about it a little bit further to find out what makes the most sense to make the flaw of the main character, because I feel like that's important as you go forward in the storyline. You want the character to be able to solve their flaws or grow past their flaws or address their flaws in some way that necessarily has the consequence that having figured out how to solve that problem in themselves, they solve the problem in the mirror fragments. And so resolve the flawed reflections. I do think that probably is where I could go with that. I think that makes a lot of sense. We're about 35 minutes in tonight. I could probably call it here for tonight. I've got work tomorrow, so I'm hoping I'll be able to come on here afterwards. I will give a little more thought on what to do with this story tomorrow, and then pick what we're going to do the next for the next video. So this was Gremlins done as mirror shards. I like it. It has potential. And I've got to decide what I'm going to do with these when I finish these story ideas. Because I feel like if I could set it up, and I may, if this pandemic continues the way it's going, we may end up with enough time that I may end up just not working my job and sit down and make the stories that I was working on. I can see doing that. Because I've got a lot of them to work with. So I thank you for joining me for tonight. I will catch you tomorrow. Until then, take care and have a good night.